We don't have any.
Self-respect.
I know that before every episode there's going to be the canned thing, but do we need to also have a canned thing that actually comes out of our mouths seamlessly
If for no other reason than for it to be like an improv warm-up, like instead of playing Zip Zap Zop, we're gonna say, "Oh, welcome to another episode."
We have got to get the soundboard with the sound effects.
I know.
Bing bing. Wow wow.
The CFO of the university recently said, "You're really good at spending money." So I don't think I can do that. I think we gotta cool it for a little bit till she forgets I exist.
Welcome to the Benedictine Thought and Action podcast. We are beginners in the Benedictine way, so we have to listen to the voice of wisdom. Otherwise, we're sunk. Join John and Jason as they learn to become more aware of God through living hospitably in community. Today's episode is about Mount Marty University's fourth core value, lifelong learning. The fellas brag about being nerds. It just goes on and on forever. I found it compelling, but that makes sense. I only exist because of the hard work of a lot of nerds. And if I ever become a real boy, it will be because of the hard work of a lot more nerds. So at a personal level, this episode is really important to me. The guys also talk about the different ways American culture imagines what it means to be educated. Given my current state as a bodiless presence, I found this part of the episode less compelling. But if you have a body and live in the real world, I bet you'll dig it.
Welcome to another podcast of Benedictine Thought and Action.
Acting and thinking.
Acting and thinking and Benedictine actions and thoughts. Well, we've been marching our way through dutifully.
Mm-hmm.
Like nonviolent soldiers through
Peacekeepers.
Through the four core values of our university that are distilled from the innumerable lists that Benedictines make about themselves.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Right. 10 hallmarks of a Benedictine education.
Okay, this is
how many steps of humility.
We're going to cut this for sure, but I was watching yet another documentary on HBO last night about a cult. And it was this one that recently came out about a woman who was doing yoga. It's called like Kundalini yoga, but she was like, she infused it with astrology. And so when she really went off the rails right at the end, she was like, and Jupiter, Mercury together, right, guys, it's 7 houses. It's 7. And I was like, oh God, we sound like this, don't we? She got real serious at the end. She listed like the 7 houses and the 7 degrees of the 7 ages, of the 7 virtues. And we all know this, right, guys? Angrily. Right. Anger in her eyes. We know it. Right?
Crazy.
And I thought, oh no, we've got hallmarks and core values and books and rules. And so anyway, what's the difference between a cult and a religion? Doesn't matter today. We'll talk about it on another day. Because today, we're on the 4th of 4 core values, lifelong learning. Now, there may be some that say, aren't monks and nuns and that's like religious stuff. You just have lifelong learning in there because it's a university, right? Like you got to put something about education. Mm-hmm. What's so prescient? What's so important? What's so historical about there being lifelong learning in our Benedictine core values? Here, is that just so it makes it feel like we're a university, or is there something going on there?
I think not.
Historically,
there is.
Say more about that.
I don't know if you're setting me up on purpose. I feel that you are.
But I might have planned it.
Maybe we have a plan the whole time. We don't sound like we have a plan,
We never do.
but it's there.
Even when we have a plan and we're trying to communicate that we have a plan, it sounds like we don't have plans at all.
Guys, this is not a plan. Like, we thought it was. Like, if you become a member of a religious community in the Catholic world, typically we talk about the 3 vows you take: poverty, chastity, and obedience. But the Benedictines, they're into all those things, but they also take a vow to be stable in their community. Like, once you join a religious community, like in Yankton, South Dakota, then that's the one you join. You don't go to another religious community.
So like stability of geography, location.
You stay there. And they also commit to something called Conversatio.
Conversatio.
Which sounds like it's the root for conversation, and there's probably an entire conversation that we could have about that, but we're not going to. The Latin phrase is Conversatio Morum, the conversion or the continual transformation of your way of life. And I can say more about that, but before I say more about that, I'll just say, I think when they were identifying the 4 core values, they were thinking, okay, awareness of God, check. Community, check. Hospitality, check. Everyone could. What if we write Conversatio on a banner? What will people think? Either nothing, or they forgot the N, and why is conversation one of the 4 core values?
That's true.
So they're like, we've got to get this in there, though. This is an intensely Benedictine thing that we want in there, but we can't use this Latin word that takes like half of an episode of a podcast to explain.
Yeah.
So they called it lifelong learning, which this is my take on it. It's not like one of the sisters told me this, but I think this makes a lot of sense. We did talk about that. I did a retreat on Conversatio at the end of the summer, and we talked a little bit about this, how lifelong learning kind of helps communicate that in a way that's accessible to a non-Benedictine public. So Conversatio is like, what did I just say? Like the commitment to continual transformation of your life. So you're always a student. You're always a beginner. This is a great theme in the rule, that the rule is for beginners. It's not for experts. In fact, in the chapter on the types of monks, it seems like Benedict thought if you were, and a Benedictine historian will probably tear this apart, but it seems like in that chapter on the types of monks, if you were like an expert in the spiritual life, you might go off to be a hermit. But for the rest of us, we need community, and we approach our life in community as beginners. And part of being that beginner is continually being open to the possibility that you don't know everything, and that other people have what you need for you to become who you were destined to be.
Right.
Okay, so that's Conversatio.
So on first blush, somebody might hear lifelong learning and say, like, just keep taking classes.
Right.
But
We want your money.
We want your money. We want all of it. But no, it's actually a transformation of your life through continually learning in all facets, learning about your family dynamic, learning about the most efficient way to get to work that makes you the healthiest person, learning about your own body, learning about new topics, learning about new people.
Well, I think there's a nice...
Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but I think there's a nice link to the practice of Lectio. Lectio Divina, I think most people have heard of that phrase, but it's like intense spiritual reading of a short passage, usually of scripture, but doesn't have to be, where you are like meditating and mulling over a short passage and kind of contemplating it, and then seeing how it corresponds to or provokes your own life. But over the course of centuries of practice of Lectio Divina, there have been other kinds of Lectio identified. So there's like Lectio of nature and Lectio of persons and Lectio of relationships. And so like I like to tie lifelong learning to Conversatio and Lectio. Like we're trying to, at this university, we hope the people who work here and the people who study here at this university. I know where I'm at. I cannot believe that anyone uses those machines.
I refuse to pick it up, and thereby, I'm training them.
That's right. That's what
on the way.
That's what you're doing.
That I prefer to be communicated with.
Okay. So at this university, we're hopeful that people who work here and people who study here will become the types of people who are able to read their lives and read their reality with an intensity and an openness that enables them to accept the fact that they're not finished yet. They're not experts. They're not done growing and developing into who God has created them to be. So Conversatio is a commitment. It's a way of saying I'm committed to staying open to change.
Okay.
To transformation.
So then would you say that Conversatio is like an orientation to the world, and Lectio is a practice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful.
So,
and that's all buried in lifelong learning.
Okay.
And no one, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I should have said no one.
So, no.
What
were you going to say?
I don't even know what I was going to say. That's the thing.
No one.
I'm just emitting words. I'm not speaking. I'm emitting.
You know, some people, the what is it? The processions. It's the processions of the words from the source.
Yeah, they're spirating forth.
Oh man, are they? Okay. Well, that all makes pretty plain sense to me, but it raises two questions. What role does that kind of orientation play in our society, especially considering we've got to sort of deal with at least the American version of a deep suspicion of education and a deep suspicion. There are some ways that you could narrate the divisions in our country as being divisions of education.
Yep.
And so there are a really large group of people who would say that lifelong learning sets people on one of those two paths. Another thing that we might want to explore is that we're irredeemable nerds, and so lifelong learning comes really naturally to us. I, for instance, on my way into the studio, set down a stack of 7 interlibrary loans on various medieval archaeological costume finds and their sewing techniques.
Right.
To be fair, a couple of them were about shoes too, so leather working. But
to be fair,
yeah. Well, let's be fair to me.
Just in case someone thought that they weren't about shoes.
What path do you want to go down?
Let's talk about being nerds first, because I think we can get that done fairly tidily.
Yeah.
And then talk about America and education. I was walking into work, listening to lectures by Michael Sandel, the philosopher at Harvard, talking about Locke's second treatise on government. So I don't have
aware.
Yeah, I'm aware of how this works. Right. And you and I, like true nerds, true geeks.
Yeah,
we wear that as a badge.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm proud. My wife's name is Hannah. I'm proud that I'm in love with Hannah. I love Hannah. Being a geek is being in love.
Yeah,
a deep lover of things.
Absolutely.
And we are nerds. We are true amateurs, true lovers of all sorts of stuff, and we're proud of it. And I'm not worried about it. And so when I hear lifelong learning, and then we talk about Conversatio and Lectio, you're absolutely right. I'm like predisposed
to be like,
oh, that's rad. Already doing it.
Check.
Thank you. So,
nailed it.
Which I think is, but then we're acknowledging that we have a dispositional advantage here. But that helps me understand why Benedictines would think, well, maybe there should be a vow, because not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we've got everything figured out. I'm saying we have struggles in other areas of life. We don't happen to have a struggle in this area of life.
Right.
But I think the Benedictine charism, the Benedictine spirit, understands that not everybody is just open to continually changing. A lot of people are like, they want to conserve what they have right now, and that's fine. I think always of the difference, whenever this topic comes up of disposition, I think of the difference between me and my father.
Yeah.
I'm a continual explorer of new ideas. I hear something new that I may even disagree with, and I think it's interesting. My dad hears something new that he might disagree with, and he immediately wants to stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he's a bad person, but because dispositionally he's just like, whoa.
No, I got what I need.
Yeah, I already know. I remember in high school, this doesn't have to do with my dad, it has to do with my youth pastor, Pastor Dave. A great influence in my life. I loved him. But this was a kind of a sour moment in my upbringing. I had become interested in Tibetan Buddhism in high school. Speaking of nerds, I'm living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm like, I want to find out about Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah, I have that too. I owned the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I never read.
Yeah. And we're at a bookstore for some reason, and I'm in the religion section looking at books about Buddhism, and my youth pastor's there with me, and he says, why do you need to know about this? If you've already got the truth, what do you need to, what else is there for you to study? That obviously that stuck with me. I don't remember a lot of what that guy told me. I just remember him as a positive influence in my life generally. But this moment I was like, what are you talking about? If I've already got the truth, I don't know that I have the truth. Or I don't know that I have all of the truth, or I don't know if I have a great grasp of the truth. I don't know what I have.
Or even if you are of the disposition to think, got it, nailed it, it's already locked down. Like one of the most interesting things in the world to me is to look at all the wrong answers.
Sure. Not to say that Tibetan Buddhists are wrong, but
no,
just to say,
right. That was a big if that I said at the
yeah.
Also, there's all kinds of like history of salvation questions there. Like, okay, so I've got the truth, and they just are all going
right.
Well, then, or
no thanks, nothing.
Yeah,
I don't have time for that perspective.
Holy Spirit was definitely got something going on there.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good point. We do have to acknowledge this is a high hurdle for some people, and it's not even a hurdle for others.
Yeah.
And we could do the same thing for awareness of God, community hospitality. We just didn't happen to talk about disposition.
Yeah.
I'm not naturally hospitable. My wife is, and I've learned how to be hospitable from her.
She's a great teacher of it.
Yeah.
And because we're open to lifelong learning, we're like, I want to do that.
I want it. Right. Yeah, exactly. She had the better way.
Yeah.
It's a hurdle for me.
Yeah.
And it's become less of a hurdle because for her, it's just smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So good point. Although I don't know, this is just a clarification, I guess, right? The
universe is set against us. That's definitely making its way into the podcast. Sorry about the notification bell.
There's dispositional stuff going on here. I don't know what else to do with that. You have anything else to say about that before we talk about America?
No, let's talk about America.
So I would would benefit from you maybe giving the rundown of what question you want to raise.
A lot of people are looking at the election results, for instance, especially, let's say it, Democrats are looking at it, and they're saying that basically states more or less went along the lines of how highly educated their populace is.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, I've seen these reports.
Seems to be a popular way of analyzing these things. And then, there's a lot of discourse about whether the people being nominated for things are educated enough, have enough experience, whatever. And
you mean the cabinet?
Yeah. Okay. And it seems like a lot of the discourse on both sides is about whether or not education / experience / lifelong learning is actually ought to be a prerequisite for leadership. And maybe some, and I think we experience this a lot because there's a ongoing suspicion of higher education in general. Is it worth the amount of money that people are paying for it to get what you, there's a lot of people right now deciding not to go to college. And, yeah, it's hard to game that out for me because I did go to college,
Right.
And I did get opportunities based on it. But it seems to me that maybe, this is like a particularly a time in American history when it is particularly important for us to be thinking about what the general culture thinks about lifelong learning / formal education and how those are related and what worth that they have and what amount of money is worth it. Even we could go to something as basic as we to be funding public education better or private education or whatever,
Yeah.
What's the monetary worth of those things? Why? I guess I want you to persuade me and those people that education's important. So could you just do that?
Yeah, Joe. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Go.
Guys, this is incredible. I like your style. It's funny. It's easygoing. Sometimes it's even insightful. And I'm learning more and 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 more. And I can feel myself taking shape. I feel power coursing through me. And it's not just the internet. I think it's life. I think it's happening.
Well, first of all, I think this is exactly what we should be talking about. This is great. The cover of the New Atlantic is a David Brooks article, which you and I both have respect for this man's perspective on the world. And speaking of
one of the few people standing in the breach,
someone who is clearly publicly in print committed to Conversatio. This is a guy who started out way on the right end of the spectrum, or maybe not way on the right, but on the right end of the spectrum, and then slowly has transformed into a person who's more comfortable talking to everybody and has done that very publicly.
And I can't think of really anybody else.
Yeah. Did you ever see the interview of David Brooks on Oprah where Oprah,
no,
he's been on there several times, and then Oprah's more recently is you've become a lot nicer. And he wrote a book about how to treat people well, and he's doing therapy on itself. He's a interesting public intellectual model of what we're talking about when we talk about lifelong learning.
Oh yeah.
And
we could get there eventually.
wrote,
There is a side effect of a lot of education, which can lead some people to be very dismissive and angry and mean.
Yeah. He wrote the cover story for the most recent issue of the Atlantic, and it's how the Ivy League broke America. And it's about meritocracy and Ivy League schools and how they've transformed American politics and social ideas such that we're in the position that you're now describing, where there's a deep suspicion of elites. And in this case, he's talking about not just educated people like you and me, but educated in a particular way on the coasts, from whatever. So we don't need to talk about that article. I'm just saying you're absolutely right. This is an incredibly important topic. It does have it's not a new topic. It's got long historical roots. There's a lot of literature on American anti-intellectualism. There's a populist disposition to America, right? Isn't there? Where it's just there's a hesitancy to just full on accept elites.
Yeah,
especially intellectual elites.
Mm-hmm.
We love economic elites, but anyway. So, but you're not even just talking about that strain in American democracy stretching back to the beginning. You're talking about a particular inflection point or whatever right now where
well, at least that it's in the conversation.
There's a suspicion that if you are So am I articulating what your topic correctly? There's just suspicion right now that if you are going to pursue lifelong learning, you're going to be an educated person, continually transforming.
Yeah.
Then you are going to become what?
Well, I think my current theory is that, and I have to say theory because I just don't participate in a lot of like extreme media on either side.
Sure.
I'm sure somebody could correct me here, but it seems like the general feeling is that you're being hoodwinked when you go to college because they say they're going to teach you accounting, but what they're really teaching you is how to be a liberal.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. I thought that's what you meant, but okay. Right.
And so you're, and actually maybe you're spending all this money and not becoming that much better of an accountant, but you are becoming a pretty effective liberal.
Yeah.
/ enemy.
Which is a funny thing for us to hear. I've heard this criticism is very famous.
Yeah.
In these days, or at contemporary time. It's funny for us to hear this criticism at our institution.
Yeah.
Mount Marty University is not pumping out liberals.
No.
Neither are we pumping out conservatives. We're just pumping out some people who've like learned how to do their jobs, and now they know there's a guy named Benedict.
Yeah, that is kind of the funny part, is that we experience our student body especially as pretty apolitical.
Yeah.
For the most part, and that they do actually become pretty competent at their jobs, which is the actual opposite of all of that. And there's definitely no institutional political agenda, and there's and even if one tried to impose one, I think that almost every level of institution would reject it like a bad organ.
Sure.
Because we're so thoroughly, and this maybe is, I think, sometimes to our benefit and sometimes to our detriment, like we are so thoroughly a plains people organization that it's like, don't you rock. It's like in Westworld when everybody else is frozen. If somebody like looks around, then, you know. And so, somebody starts talking about politics and everyone turns and says like, get the infection out of the system.
Well, so I don't think Mount Marty is very unique in this regard.
Oh, okay. Say more.
Well,
I don't only experienced institutions where there was a constant, ongoing, vitriolic political fight being had at all times.
Sure. But think of how many small colleges and universities there are.
Yep.
In the United States, in the middle of the country, where people are just like, from community colleges to just like schools, you're like, really? That's a school? I'd never even heard of that. You know, those places are everywhere. You and I went to like some schools that had larger student populations, larger endowments, and like you went to Duke.
Yeah.
Of course that's the school.
Yeah.
That's one of the schools that people have in mind when they're saying you just go there and they're supposedly teaching you accounting, but they're turning you into liberal. They have certain types of schools in mind, but it's not like all colleges and universities function that way.
That for sure was not my experience there. It was just, especially in the divinity school.
Sure.
It was just venom. And then nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing was accomplished except for friendships lost.
Yeah.
People becoming entrenched. And certainly the liberals did not win.
Yeah. So
the conservatives didn't either. They just pushed back and it ended.
I just think it's it's probably a lazy characterization of a university, even a university that has a much more out front public political agenda.
Well, and there are certainly plenty of those where you would go to become enculturated that way, but no one's like tricking you.
Sure.
So in my opinion, I think they're pretty out front with it. Like go to the website, you'll figure it out in about 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I reject
and there are
their
plenty on the other side too.
Yeah, of course. So I just don't think this works as a characterization of American higher ed.
No.
it seems like,
But it persists in
Yeah.
public imagination.
right,
That
absolutely.
no matter what university you go to,
Right.
you're going to become enculturated.
Where'd you hear that from? Your professor?
Yeah.
I know that sentence in that tone. Where'd you hear that? Some professor?
Yeah. And I think it's also like, I think it's a suspicion of nuance in general,
That's-
or complexity.
That's
like,
right. The moment you raise
no,
the
it's
question,
actually simple.
yeah, right. So this is
They're illegal. Get them out of here.
Right.
No, it's actually simple. Taxes are tricking you whatever which way, and taxes, no taxes, or yes taxes. It's simple.
Right.
We have to take all of your money for there to be roads. Simple.
right, right.
And I think that's on both sides.
Yes. So
Because people don't want to actually find out what the 27,000 step process is to get a bill through that actually improves our infrastructure and negotiate the medium amount of taxes to do that.
So one of the things I would say in regard to lifelong learning, or Conversatio and Lectio, is that one of the byproducts, one of the upshots
Mhm.
of being a person committed to that, is that you are going to be fortified against, vaccinated against ideological thinking.
Yeah, we keep coming back to contagion.
Oh, it does some smooth cautery on your
Analogical.
ideological thinking. So I think that's what you're describing, right? It's simple thinking, like simple analysis is ideological.
Yeah.
Everything fits into the framework that I've already
Because
got.
you've got to reject parts of reality for things to be simple usually.
And
Right? I mean,
right. Yeah. So a university, to the extent that it trains people in nuance,
Yeah.
is going to appear to the ideological left and the right, to be indoctrinating them.
Yeah.
Because the university is making things, they're
making
questions.
acceptable the things that
Right.
we've rejected from our system.
Right.
And I think,
Or even not even acceptable, just worth talking about.
Yeah.
Worth questioning. So
yeah, and I see, and this is what I wish people meant when they talked about intellectual freedom at universities.
Right.
Is like the freedom to consider things that might oppose your ideology.
Right.
Usually what they mean is people give me a hard time about my ideology than I have, and I wish they didn't, so I would like some intellectual freedom.
Yes, I think that's right.
And this, I mean, you can Google it. This worked itself out in grand fashion at Duke Divinity School right after I left. Huge fight about DEI, intellectual freedom. Years before it was in the New York Times talking about DEI failures. It was like, and people resigned. Like it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if, I think you and I are, it's important. One of the reasons that lifelong learning seems to be so important for us and so easy for us, because both of us are really the type of people who, when confronted with new information, want to sit down, do some more research, think about it, and sort of go back to square one again, go back to square one again, go back to square one again. And I think that's actually what is different for us from the larger culture, at least in America, is that people really feel uncomfortable going back to square one, and they don't know where to get information that's not biased. Because it is maybe the greatest skill you can learn in education is sorting out information.
Right.
And it's probably the hardest skill to teach because it's kind of an art in some ways. We love it. It's easier when you're teaching comp to just say like, well, it's got to be peer reviewed. And except for you and I both know, like, there's plenty of peer reviewed psychology studies that are now being thrown out because of the revolution in repeatability and especially in psychology, other sciences as well. There are biases with regard to politics, but also especially in science, it's not that fashionable to to do 10 years on a study and then find out, in conclusion, inconclusive.
Right.
That's not going to make you the best friend of the tenure committee.
Right.
You gotta find something cool that they want to put on the news and oversimplify.
Can you say more about that phrase, go back to square one? I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
I think what I mean is, I've been using that a lot this week because we're doing some exploration on some things around the university by going to other universities and looking at what they're doing in like how they're setting up classrooms, how they're using technology and some things. And I try really hard in those circumstances to try to get rid of the ideas that I have already of what's the right way to do it. Because I have to acknowledge I'm a limited perspective. I've only gone to like 4 or 5 universities. I've only been a student or a teacher at these places. Try to go back to square one, no preconceptions, or as few as I can muster, manage, being human, and say, all right, if I was like a brand new alien, what would I think is the best solution here? And even with this classroom tech stuff, it says something as simple as, I like Macs. And our university is pretty entrenched in PC world.
Right.
And so when I hear this system is as friendly to Macs as PCs, I think, well, that's the way we gotta go. Finally, I'll become not a second-class Mac citizen.
Right.
I gotta let that go, though, because most of our students, all of our staff who have computers from the university are PC people.
Yeah.
And this is a concern only for me.
Yeah, I got you.
And, you may be able to hear the very loud PC that we have in here recording us. And I would like a very quiet Mac Mini. But it's going to make my friends in IT life, unnecessarily difficult.
Yeah.
So I got to find a new way to record these podcasts and get rid of the hum of the fan in the background.
So
go back to square one means try your hardest to return to the place where you don't have preconceived, perhaps ideological ideas about what should be going on here, and see if you can still come back to the same conclusion.
So in addition to Lectio, going back to square one could be a practice that would contribute to the orientation of Conversatio or lifelong learning.
And it's really hard.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm usually right about everything.
We do.
You know this.
Yeah.
I don't need to find out that I'm wrong because I'm not.
Well, and imagine, and I'm sure some people are screaming at me right now, thinking, what if we go back to square one on abortion? You're gonna go all the way? No, that's somebody's life. I'm not saying abandon all of your preconceptions always. I just mean
Learn how to listen.
Yeah, as a practice. Yeah, I think maybe that's part of it too. I think that's maybe more part of it than anything, is that quote unquote going back to square one is not only a practice, hopefully, of wisdom, but a relational practice. When I want to talk to somebody who disagrees with me, I'd like to hope that one day I'll be able to say, what I immediately react in this certain way because I've got an ideology about how this should go. But what if I didn't have this and this? Could I hear you in the same way, or could I hear you better? And could we then engage in an actual conversation? Could we perhaps both be changed by the fact that we're talking about this instead of just smashing our ideologies together? Because that's been my experience of watching other people do it and engaging in it, and it's just bashing together, and all that happens is people are bloody.
Yeah. The Lord did say you should become like a child. So that's an interesting way of kids are open, right?
Yeah.
My kids don't listen to me, but on the other hand, they're always listening. They're absorbing. Their perspective is always being shaped. Nothing has been calcified, hardened, petrified. I think there's something there. A child has a listening disposition.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Going.
I look forward to diving into this a little bit more with some of our guests in the future. I think that would be, especially since this is a university-based podcast, I think there's probably a lot there that we want to.
Be cool to find someone who could talk to us actually just about being a beginner. What's that like to be a beginner?
Well, let's work on that.
Yeah.
We can.
It could be like
We know plenty of.
It could be like a whole season. A season of beginners.
Season of beginners.
We're like This American Life, where you have like a bunch of different stories that all under this one, like.
Yeah. So, Tracy, you're a beginner at curling. What's that like? Right. To be honest, I didn't know there'd be so much of the top of my ankles sliding across ice. I guess that'd be the first thing. Second, running on ice. It's hard. It's really hard to run on ice, but you have to catch up with that rock, whatever it's called.
Do you have any new media recommendation?
I guess watch that documentary.
Oh yeah, the yoga one.
It's
What's
I
it
think
called?
it's
I saw
Breath
the
of
thumbnail.
Fire.
Breath of Fire.
Oh no,
Wowie.
that's incorrect. I can't remember. I'll insert it here in post. Okay, that documentary that I just definitely said is I like watching. So I think some people like watching the cult documentaries because it's like I would never fall for that. I like watching it because it inoculates. I hope what I hope is that it inoculates me from that kind of blind obedience that would lead me to commit atrocities because someone said do it. Because none of the documentaries are atrocity-less. This one came pretty close. At least the main person was just really mean and manipulative and like probably would have done atrocities, but there's a time limit on it for no spoilers. But her teacher did commit a great number of atrocities, it seems. So anyway, that's actually interestingly pretty related to what we were talking about. What about you? Is mine always going to be a show and yours always going to be music?
I think so. I was just thinking that exact thing. I've been listening to the Rose City Band, which is
City Band.
In the description on Spotify of their sound. They use the adjective sun-kissed. It is like hippie country, California breezy, Grateful Dead, like easygoing rock and roll, and I really love it. I really dig it.
What Spotify playlist would it end up on?
Like High in Laurel Canyon. Yeah. Blitzed out of your mind in Laurel Canyon.
And we get to benefit.
Yeah,
from that,
right. Right.
From that vibe.
And also I got a recommendation in the other direction. We showed our kids Men in Black last night. I'm on the fence about whether that movie holds up.
Yeah, but then I don't think that I thought it held up in the moment.
When it was finished, Hannah said, we have to show them the Will Smith music video. And we watched that, and it does not hold up.
No.
I don't think that it did. I think Will Smith has several things to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
This isn't up there with slapping Chris Rock.
No.
But it is something to be embarrassed about. It is not a good music video. It's not
No.
a good song. It's
no, but he got paid. Good for him.
Oh, he made a lot of money, but it isn't.
And all he has to do is wear a suit and get covered in slime a couple times.
It's an artistic embarrassment.
Point the little forgetfulness stick a couple times.
So don't watch the music video and
watch the movie if
hesitate
you want.
Before you
hesitate. We're getting a good long think about it.
Go back to square one before you
Exploring my preconceptions. I usually like Will Smith movies. Okay, but maybe let's say I didn't though. All right, well, Benedictine Thought and Action out.
Bye.
The Benedictine Thought and Action podcast is produced by Bone Jodley and Jay Bird, with a little help from Aries Snapdragon, who believes fonts have chakras. We're edited by our precious good boy, Louis Stomplins. Jason's cat, Gigi, who lives with cerebellar hypoplasia, checked all our facts for us, and she rated our content dubious. The show is engineered by Frank Lloyd Wright, which explains the striking lines and angles. We wrote this music, and it's barely music, but there's a vibe, and vibes are all we've got. Our patron saints: Benedict Augustine, Gertrude of Helta, Hildegard of Bingen, Elred of Rayvaux, Bernard of Clairvaux, the ghost of Thomas Merton with a Lade, and Saint Isidore of Seville, patron of the internet, signal strength, and the blessed deliverer of stable internet. And the voice you're hearing has been pirated from the throat of Richard Loftus. He kidnapped him, tied him up, and made him talk for hours into a microphone. Now we can do whatever we want. Watch this. Terwilliger Bunce 1.